Good morning. Good morning. Oh, so beautiful to see you. The movement of the mind of God is always changing. It looks a little bit different than when I first came in. So, welcome everyone. I am so very grateful to anchor with you the words of that song as we collectively create the sacred container for this conversation today. And it begins with us just affirming for ourselves, placing the hand before the heart, if you will, and saying, I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am whole. Feel that. I'd like to say it again together. I am holy, holy, holy. I am whole. And that as we begin to open the body eyes, we may look around to those who are here. And we look and we say, you are holy, holy, holy. You are whole. You are whole. And so we feel that. The title of our conversation today is The Consciousness with Which We Give. And that in any moment we get to choose our consciousness. We get to choose from which we give our gifts in all the variety of ways in which we give them. And by anchoring first and foremost with our holiness and our wholeness, we are assured then that Spirit opens our eyes that we may see and behold the love and beauty that is within each of us. And it is from that love, from that beauty, and from that power from which we give. You see, so often we think that we are an independent entity that must generate its own power, but no, we are connected with Spirit now and always, and it is Spirit that fills us. It is Spirit that reminds us and opens our eyes to the truth that sets us free, that we are one with this power, with this beauty, with this grace. And you know what? Every prayer we speak begins right there. We're always recognizing the infinite, ineffable power and glory of God and then unifying ourselves with it, aligning ourselves with it. And so as we reimagine Unity Renaissance, as we reimagine our lives, our touchstone is always to return within to the holiness that we are and to give forth from that consciousness. And so last week, this week we're going to talk about your soul print. Soul print. Did you know you have a soul print? And did you know that it is like a fingerprint that is unique just to you? I did a little research on fingerprints. They're really quite fascinating. You know, I research soul prints all the time, but a fingerprint is unique. Out of 64 billion, there has never been found two to be alike. And we see this in all of creation. It is also said that no two snowflakes are ever alike. And so our Creator, as the Creator creates some things, it creates all things. And so each of us in this room, each of us in all of creation is a unique and divine emanation of the Creator. Yeah, we're of the same source. Yeah, that makes us one. Yeah, we're in unity, but never mistake unity for the mundane. In unity, there is diversity and multiplicity of extensions and expressions of that one life. And it comes through the prism, it comes through the conduit of you. And so as we reimagine our lives, it is incumbent upon us to continuously be reimagining our soul print. It is said that a life unexamined isn't worth living. Why would you want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again when you can continuously be recreating of the same self, unique extensions of yourself that give the gifts of your vibrancy, of your beauty, of your love, of your joy to all of creation? And so your soul print is your unique expression. May we, in our prayer and meditation time, be asking for that to continuously be revealed to us so that we may share our gifts from our unique expression. I always say, Jesus already did Jesus. Buddha already did Buddha. Michelangelo already did Michelangelo. It is time for us to do uniquely us. And we do that by returning continuously to the divine, to our divine nature. And in continuously returning to, oh yeah, I'm holy. Oh yeah, open my eyes that I may see my beauty, that I may see the gifts that I am here to express. And in that courting of the divine, we arrive home to our true self. Is that not what the journey is anyway? It's not for you to duplicate someone else. It's for each of us to rise, to be as God created us, the unique and divine emanation of spirit. And our spiritual gifts that we are here to give, oh my goodness gracious, it feels so good to give them. That's why this community is so filled with joy, with love. This is one of the most connected communities in givingness that I have ever had the privilege of being with. Y'all love each other. You don't just love each other, you just don't talk about it on Sundays. Day in and day out, week after week, you're connected with each other. You connect with each other, and we connect with one another in this spiritual community by giving our gifts, by being in sacred service, by attending classes, by doing all of the variety of things, not to puff ourselves up, but to just be in the pure joy of walking this pathway together of awakening so that we may buoy one another up, so that when we go forth from here, not only are we discerning our spiritual gifts, but we're the physical embodiment of them. Breathe in and out with me, love. Imagine the love that you feel. Imagine someone that you love so much. Imagine a moment when you felt unconditionally loved, held, beheld, regarded, despite though you think you had flaws, that someone sees you as absolutely perfect love. You can feel that, can't you? Give from that. Give from that. I had the opportunity to be with and among the people who call themselves the hospitality team, one of our sacred service teams here. Had the opportunity to hear from them. Why do they serve in that way? Because our goal is that everybody is serving in their unique and divine perfect way from their heart, not only because it may seem to fulfill a need, but it's because it's how we grow spiritually. And that's our goal. Our goal is awakening in consciousness. And we do that by arriving at our divine self, our divine gifts, and then giving therefrom, and then being the embodiment of it. Such that when we leave this campus, we be that everywhere. Everywhere. while we're driving, while we're in line somewhere, while we're doing our job, while we're with our families, while we are doing the mundane work, because the awakened ones know that before awakening you chop wood and carry water, and after awakening you do the same thing, but you do it from a different consciousness, because you're the embodiment, the conduit of love and of your particular gifts. Oh my goodness gracious, I feel that. Take a breath with me. I hope you feel this too. Oh, doesn't it feel good? And so we remember now, we go back to last week where we remember, oh, that's cool, where we remember, thank you, Mary, where we remember the expression that we can be. That we talked about being self-emptied and God-filled. We can say that a little bit differently. We can say that we are ego-emptied, spirit-filled, fear-emptied, love-filled. Use the words that work for you. But what we're emptied of is any sense of separation from that ocean. It is that ocean, the infinite, the depth, the expanse, that sea of knowingness that propels, that sources the giving of our gifts. And the emptier we become of our bloated nothingness, which is just the illusory part of who we have thought ourselves to be, and we return continuously to, I am holy, 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 I am whole. We return continuously to source. What happens to that wave, that spurt of power and beauty that has extended forth when it's complete there? We don't have a picture of it, but guess what happens? What does it do? It returns to source, not to die, not in an afterlife, but to reimagine itself again, that it may express again in a magnificent way that serves others. Take a breath with me because I need one. Woo! Oh my goodness gracious. So that's what we're doing. We're continuously, the expression that has extended, that returns to source continuously. And that's what we do here. So how do we reimagine? How do we reimagine? Oh, you know, we have to every time realign to reimagine. You know what? It sounds like work. But I got to say, what else are you going to do? I mean, seriously, it actually saves time. It brings joy. You can release fear. We realign to reimagine. We go back to the set point, and that's what we're doing as a community. We're touching home base together every Sunday, so that we can remember to do that all the time. And how we do that is we lift our awareness. Ever get lost in a dream? Ever get lost in fearfulness? Ever get lost in fret? Ever get lost in worry? And the more that you are in it, the more evidence of it that supports it. But it's a lie. And we actually have the ability, because we're made in the image and likeness of a creator that is just awesome. We have the ability to think independent of those circumstances. We have the ability to rise, and we rise by shifting our awareness. If we're looking in this direction at the fear, all we do is we rise. I am holy, 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 I am whole. I am the beloved of the Creator that thought of me as a divine idea in its mind. This is my source. This is my substance. This is nothing. I turn, I raise my awareness, and as I raise my awareness in this direction, I see the evidence of all of that. Wouldn't you rather see this picture than that picture? I know I would. I've spent a big part of my lifetime over here. No more. I say, get thee behind me. I'm rising. I'm raising my awareness to the Spirit of God within me. And as I do that, I become willing to cultivate my understanding of it. I become willing to practice the principles. I become willing to focus my attention. I become willing to court the divine. I become willing to spend time in nature. I become willing to become still and trust that there's something in me that's clearing me out, that I may remember and see with an open heart the beauty and the gifts that I have to give. And so this is where we practice our affirmations. I am holy, holy, holy. I am whole. I am a child of God. This is where we practice our understanding through prayer. Every talk I give, every conversation I have in the context of being a minister and being an awakened being is a prayer. And as you study prayer, you become willing to see that and see that it is a technology that shifts, that heals through consciousness, through shifting and changing your mind. So as we begin to practice, we develop an understanding, and in developing that understanding, my friends, we rise into a knowingness, not of our own thinking, beyond our thoughts. We've gone back to the beginning. We're the wave that has submitted to the ocean itself. And now we abide in a sea of knowingness that guides us perfectly. We realign to reimagine, and we arrive home to the true self. Ooh. We arrive home to our true self, not the fabricated self, not the illusory self, the true self as God created you, as a divine and eternal being in the mind of God now and always. And coming forth in this expression to give your unique gifts. Why? Because you must. Because the conditioned world would have you think that your gifts serve it. Mm-mm. Your gifts serve God. Your gifts serve love. Your gifts serve you. Oh, it's how we stay healthy. It's how we stay whole. It's how we remember who we are, what we are, and how we serve. So I put this slide up here. How we do some things is how we do all things. I mentioned earlier how God created some things, God created all things, each with a divine and unique pattern. Well, guess what? We tend to do the same thing. How we do some things is how we do all things. So we're like in this reimagined series. And we're going to pick different topics that we are going to reimagine. The formula is the same. You see, we think that we're going to pull the thing that we're challenged with and set it aside and handle it ourselves. Ever do that with your finances? God's got everything but this. This I'm keeping for myself. This I don't trust the way it works enough to surrender it in. And so what we do is now we're beginning to see that as awakened beings, how we do some things is also how we do all things. How we do our awakening in one area is how we awaken in all areas. The formula is the same. The way it works is the same. Aren't you glad? We read and study all these really huge books. I don't know about you, but I've been really attracted to big books throughout my whole life. A Course in Miracles, the Science of Mind text, all of the Fillmore writings, the big books of AA. They're all big books. And I've gotten to this point where I don't want to read any more big books because they're all saying and pointing to the same principle. So if you're new here, it's okay. We're going to tell you how it works, and then you're not going to believe it. And then you might come a lot, and you might test it out, and then you might think, oh, yeah, it kind of works. And then you're going to just start working it more and more and more. You see, it's a reversal of a thought pattern, a reversal of a way of being, and it takes practice. It takes commitment. But I got to tell you, it ain't serious. It's fun. It brings forth joy. I mean, you ever look around here? People are pretty happy most of the time. And when we're having a challenge, we're there for one another. That's the beauty of spiritual community. Oh my gosh, what is that? That looks serious. I must have been reading a big book over the weekend. Let's see what that has to say. Oh, okay, you guys can read it. So what I want to say is the consciousness with which we give. That's what we're talking about. What is consciousness? Consciousness is what you're focused on. Consciousness is your awareness of your perceptions. That's what consciousness is. What are you thinking right now? That's your consciousness. Where are you focused? That's your consciousness. Okay? So Charles Fillmore in The Revealing Word talks about consciousness in this way. It is very important to understand our place of consciousness in spiritual growth because while all divine ideas, like love, like life, like substance, like intelligence, they're all eternal, they're all omnipotent, and all present everywhere, but they are not so in our lives until we incorporate it. A part of our consciousness, a part of our focus, a part of our lives. And so we must incorporate them. So the repetition that we have in our teaching is because it takes practice to change our mind, to change a habit. And so we repeat affirmations, we speak prayers, and our vision as a community of a spiritually awakened world of love, peace, and joy, those qualities of love, peace, and joy, we continuously partake of. We have to keep our focus there. And, you know, Margaret said, and we talk about this, we follow the teachings of Jesus. Guess what? Jesus had to do this too. Jesus is our example, not exception. So when he said, follow me, he didn't say, worship me, put me on a pedestal, and freeze me there for all of eternity for people to make up stories about me. He said, follow me, do what I do. And may the mind that is in Christ Jesus, Jesus who took the mind of Christ, which means that God and I are one, and that's my identity. That when you do these things, when you realign in this way, you will do the things I have done and greater. That has been the promise. And so what we know here is that the well-balanced, thoroughly developed man, woman, being, of which Jesus is the type, is the prototype, is the example, comprehends and consciously adjusts his spirit, his soul, and his body as a whole, and thereby fulfills the law of his being. He had to realign. Why do you think there were 40 days and 40 nights? Why do you think there were the temptations to be self-emptied so that he could be spirit-filled, so that he could give his gifts? He was not stingy with his gifts. May we be generous with our gifts, because it is by practicing giving our gifts that we become whole. And so finally, as far as our consciousness goes, it's the consciousness from which we give. It is by thinking upon the ideas of the divine mind that we become conscious of it. What we focus on increases. We know this. Are we practicing it? Are we embodying it? Are we living it? I'm just going to keep going here for a minute. Trust the Lord. Trust the Lord. Trust the I am. That's your Christ aspect. Trust it. When we realign God as source, when we realign and go back to the beginning, when we rejoin in mind and heart with the Creator, we return home to our divine self. Trust the you that does that. Trust yourself with all your heart, and do not lean into your own understanding. Don't lean into the understanding over here that captured you into fear and told you that was who you had to be, or that you were a sinner, or that you had to grovel and sacrifice and suffer in order to rise. No, that's a lie. That was a lie. In any moment, you can rise in awareness and trust the I am, the God is of our being, and not lean into our own understanding, and acknowledge that everything comes from God consciousness. A couple weeks ago, I said, you know, your best friend, your spouse, your lover, your work, all of those things, they're byproducts of aligning. But back of everything and everyone is God. God's loving you through your work. God's loving you through your partners. God's loving you through your community, through your friends. Acknowledge that in all things. Acknowledge that. And so I'm going to skip ahead here because I want to get to the end here that says what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters to what lies within us. My friend, something within you is seeking to emerge. You might think, well, you know, I'm retired. I don't really have a whole lot to give anymore. Or you might think, well, you know, what's this little old thing over here about me? Yeah, it's not going to really serve anybody a whole lot. But it is your example of giving your gift. There is no big or small in God. That wave that shot up is the extension of love. And love expresses as the look within the eye, as the kind touch, as listening, as companioning somebody, as giving something to someone who is in need. Those are grand expressions of our gifts. Those are grand expressions, and we must give those things for our own health, for our own wealth, for our own well-being. And good old Wayne Dyer, don't die with your music still in you. Spiritual community is where we explore our gifts. It's where I explored my gifts back in the mid-90s. When I first went to Unity, boy, I was all in. I was just hooked. The minute I heard that Jesus was the example, not the exception, the moment that I could identify with him as my brother of the same stuff, that moment, that I learned that God isn't withholding forgiveness. The moment I heard the metaphysical interpretation of these teachings, I was in. Man, I was all in. I had heard something different my whole life. Could this be true? Oh. So I dove in. I did exactly what the minister said. Even though she said, you don't need to think like me. Anybody who tells you to think like me, you walk out that door. This is your own self-exploration. The wisdom is within you. I merely share my pathway and inspiration to hopefully touch within you something that you discern for yourself. And so I was all in, man. I started. I'm like, okay, they called it sacred service there. We're making our service to the community sacred. We're offering it to Spirit. The first area I volunteered in was youth and family ministry. I learned really quickly that I didn't fit there. I learned really quickly that, boy, they're super duper cute, and oh, are they wise, but it was not my place of giving. So once I filled my term there, I sashayed over to the bookstore because that was a little bit more aligned with my personality. I thought, well, yeah, I've read a lot of these books. People come in. It seemed to be the place where a lot of new people showed up so I could talk with them, tell them about my experience, and I really liked it. But then there was this moment where I was really troubled in my mind. Something in my life was troubling me, and I couldn't see how our spiritual teaching and our principles would meet that in any practical way. And so I remember they had a chapel very similar to ours with our prayer chaplains. Most of them are over here, which is why I'm pointing over there. God bless you for holding us in prayer. Because as we've said, everything is from consciousness. Everything flows from consciousness. And prayer chaplains establish and realign us in consciousness. Take a breath there. That's huge. It's huge. That's why prayer is the foundation of unity. So I had a prayer request, and I told my story to a prayer chaplain, and I remember them looking at me. They prayed with me, but then they said, I will pray. We will keep praying with him for you. And I walked out of there, and I thought, I don't really know what that's going to do. I was dubious. I really was. I mean, I thought, what the heck is that going to do? That didn't solve my problem. So I became curious. What is this prayer thing? And I became curious, and I started studying it and taking classes, and I became a prayer chaplain. And I couldn't get enough of it. Then I became a religious science practitioner. Couldn't get enough of that. I just kept walking in the direction of my heart. That has led me to this point here. I didn't need to figure this pathway out. I just needed to keep doing the next indicated thing, which was always to realign and to trust that love would point the way. And it did, and it does, and it continues to this day. I am here now because I started giving of the gifts I believed I had in a spiritual community 30 years ago, or however many that is. We never know where following our heart of giving will lead us. But I do know that it feels good. I do know that it has transformed my life. I do know that it has created a pathway that is count-onable always. Because how I do some things is how I do all things now. It may take me a while to wake up from the kvetch of my ego mind, but I know that the moment I turn and rise and raise my awareness, something shifts. Every time. That's what I know. And that's what I know for you. Robert Frost says the more we explore our life journey, the stories we tell ourselves, the more we can identify significant moments on our path. It reveals our spiritual gifts. And so I invite you over the next week to consider your life path. What's led you to this moment? Journal about that. Think about it. Contemplate about it. I don't mean to call you out, but I met you months ago. You were singing at a funeral of our beloved Thomas. And I asked you, would you sing with us? And you said yes. Who knew you would be here with us? Part of a team, following your heart, cultivating the gifts and the talents that you have, and sharing them with us. All of you, thank you. All of you. You're giving your gifts by being present here now. No big or small. No judgment of good or bad. Just being pure to the heart and the vision that pulls us forward. Take a breath with me as we move into meditation.